we're rolling. I am here with the multifaceted AmazzonKane. Can I say your real name? Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, Alexandra Bender. Do you get the Futurama thing? I know in like
all the time.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, actually, I went by Bender in college for a brief period because there were a lot of girls named Alexandra running around.
Sure.
It's something I was dealing with in high school a lot.
Yeah.
That's actually part of the reason I wear berets. I just stuck on a hat to be seen, and I went by my last name. If people can make fun of it, they can remember it.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of Futurama.
Same reason I go by JP instead of the classic white Anglo John, you know? Cool. Okay, so the very first thing I wanted to ask you about is we were talking in Instagram. You said you wanted to introduce yourself. I have a pretty good idea of what you're up to, but if you want to give my listeners, if you will, a rundown on the various facets of your sort of creative output.
Absolutely. So since I'm an unknown creator, hi, I'm Alexandra Bender, aka AmazzonKane. My ultimate goal is to run my own animated shows. I started with an original series called Katarina the Supervillain that got rejected everywhere, and to promote it, I started doing YouTube videos. I didn't take it all that seriously at first, and even now I still BS it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Don't tell anyone, but through that I fell back in love with a little show called Anaconda, which I really loved as a kid. I actually didn't see a lot of growing up, but I loved it every time I saw it. And I learned slowly over time that it was one of the most hated shows on the internet, but I still really love it. So I thought, hey, you know what? There is good here. And if anything, and that led me slowly realizing, hey, you know what? This is a good idea. This should be rebooted. I'm going to be the one to do it. That's what I've been doing.
That's awesome.
I've had a bunch of odd jobs over the years to support myself. I actually started out as a street performer on Hollywood Boulevard. I was an Elsa impersonator. I also
Are you in LA?
I am, yes.
Okay, cool.
I did birthday parties. I was a pirate. I was a mermaid. My resume started to look like Barbie's for a little while there.
Yeah.
That dried up. So then I was doing a whole bunch of other odd jobs. That's what I'm still doing.
And you said this was after college, that's right?
Yep.
What did you do for school?
I went to Emerson College. I was a screenwriting major. I graduated early in 2015. I moved out to LA in 2016.
Okay, cool. Try to make it big. Hollywood dreams. Yeah.
Yep, every narcissist's dream.
Yeah. But hey, like you're actually at it. So I watched 4 or 5 times today the Katarina the Supervillain trailer that you made, if you will. Teaser, you know. I watched the other clips as well. And I was just wondering what the background of it is. It's a good premise. After I watched it initially, and like anytime you watch anything the first time, you're kind of just taking it at face value. I kept watching and kind of wrapped my head around the premise, and it made me think of it has a lot of potential, I think, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah. It reminded me. I don't know if you'd like this or not, this comparison, but I saw potential for some kind of Venture Brothers kind of slow exploration of lore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That you could really tackle with it. So I'm just wondering what. Just tell me about it. Like, fill me in. I'm all ears.
Oh, what inspired it, or the story, or
all of it? Yeah.
That actually came from a really bad situation in my life. Katarina the Supervillain came from a relationship that ended very, very badly, and by very, very badly, this person falsely accused me of stalking them. I was nearly expelled and arrested, and I was put in a situation where I couldn't talk about it. It made so little sense to me how somebody could do that. Someone, you know, I really, really loved, someone I really cared for, but was going through a lot. And I wondered, what kind of a person does this? I'm actually somebody who, going in a little more deeply, I was not given a chance to prove my innocence. I was very much not allowed to talk about what I was going through. I had to be careful who I spoke to. I'm someone very, very expressive, overshare, and I was put in a situation where I had to suppress, couldn't do it. It was really brilliantly evil what this person did. I thought, what kind of person does this? A supervillain. Yeah. A supervillain with mommy issues. Who does this? That's where that came from.
Cool. Well, at least you can, you know, it's the phoenix, right?
Very much so.
From the ashes.
I was just trying to make peace with a really awful situation.
Yeah, that sounds pretty horrible. Although you sound like you got good like hindsight at least. You're not.
I got a lot of therapy.
Hey, I'm very pro therapy. I'm all for it. I got a lot of people in my family that have dealt with horrible things, so I'm with you.
Yep.
Cool. So from there, what is like? I always wonder. I've never done anything with animation. I know a few people that have, but I haven't really gotten them to sort of work out the nitty gritties. Often, like I used to work at a board game cafe, right? So.
Oh, cool. I'm actually with a board game group right now.
Oh, nice, cool. So I talked with a lot of people, fandom people and stuff, and developed varying relationships within that, pro and con. But yeah, there was always like I would have various coworkers that would have sort of lofty ambitions related to animation and stuff. But you got a lot further than they did, as far as I could tell. So what did the creative process look like? Were you I know you worked with a few other people, but I'm just curious about the actual like hands-on creative process related to
actually. Are we talking Angela? Or are we talking Katarina? Or
I'm talking about your creative projects right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for Katarina, I actually don't draw very well. My background's as a writer, so I had to find artists who knew what they were doing, and that was a process. There was a 2-minute short from the pilot script that we actually did before. So I was very much learning by doing. I wasn't trained in animation. I always loved it. The spec scripts I wrote in college were always for animation. Yeah. And I know it is harder as a writer, but if you work with artists, if you're a writer generally, you find artists. And that I actually found myself really much more comfortable working with artists, and I've had less successes teaming up with other writers. I thought, just make something, learn as I go, and just, it's always a bit of trial and error finding the right people. That's one thing that's really nice about LA. And actually for later stuff, sometimes you find people at conventions or through the internet.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I was asking my college classmates who were more connected to the animation side of things, people who did study animation. There was a very small percentage of people at Emerson College doing that. So I asked somebody who I knew pretty well, who I met at an open mic night. He led me to some people who I still work with today.
Cool. So you mentioned the open mic night there. I also wrote down, I'm curious about your relationship with music. I had this song. What was the song called? Shitty Childhood Friends, right?
Yes, Shitty Childhood Friends.
I've had the hook stuck in my head since I found it. I think I found it on Sunday. I listened to it a couple times over.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
That's not a project a lot of people know about.
Yeah, I thought it was very catchy, honestly, and it reminded me of music that from the Angela Anaconda videos that I wouldn't expect you to be producing. So the kind of like folk punk sort of thing,
Oh, I love it. I love folk music. I love emo, pop punk. I love angst.
Yeah. I think you're in the right era for angst too. I think we're getting back into that culturally speaking.
Good.
Yeah, I think. So yeah, what's your relationship with music? Did growing up and stuff? Do you play any instruments? Are you a vocalist, performer?
I, like many white upper middle class kids, I was forced into piano lessons, which I hated, and guitar lessons, which I also hated.
Yeah.
And I actually loved musical theater. I once wanted to be a musical theater actress. Everybody in my life said no. And honestly, thank God, it's another case where I didn't get along with a lot of the theater community. I've since found a better version of that, but growing up, most of my experiences with theater were fairly negative. But I always loved musical theater. I loved music. I also have a soft spot for some pop music that every music snob says is terrible, but hey, you know what? Sometimes you enjoy.
I love pop music. I'm so pro pop music.
And if you like it, it's good to you in your own way.
Oh yeah, well, pop music is like designed to be enjoyed. It's like it's almost math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's music, especially music and animation, do go hand in hand. I do sing. briefly had voice lessons. I write song parodies. I still do that.
I've seen them all.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I do my research for real.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
It means a lot that people are watching. The song parodies that started in high school, that's something I've always enjoyed doing. I like writing to a rhythm, which also feeds into skills, storytelling and comedy writing.
For sure.
I would say I lost track of the question, to be honest.
It's all good.
Oh, relationship with music.
Yeah.
It's such a good way to express yourself. It's a good way to get emotions out there. It's a good, especially because in so many areas of life, we're forced to be like Spock from Star Trek, suppress our emotions, control them.
Yeah.
It's nice to have some avenues where you can be as big and crazy and bombastic and emotional as you want. Music's amazing for that. Theater's really great for that. That's why it attracts a lot of crazy narcissists like myself. I'm actually writing a song about that I'm working with some of my team. It's coming out next year, a small music video. And I guess
about being a narcissist.
About how theater attracts a lot of attention-seeking narcissists.
Yeah, it does. I wanted to ask you about that, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Like, what do you think? Because I was a drama kid, but not really. You know, I was in drama class,
and I was absolutely the stereotype. I was that she can't really sing, which is code for she's better than me, and I'm afraid I'll never succeed.
Yeah,
I was that, so I partially making fun of myself. I know some of what the thinking is, because your actors, the cliche, and it's very true, are the most confident yet the most insecure people on earth. Definitely. And there's a lot of comedy in that. There's a lot of, once you get to a better place in yourself and you get a little more confident in who you are and what you're doing in life, you can poke fun at it, and the jokes will come from a much better place as a result.
Yeah. Well, you look at like I don't know, Curb Your Enthusiasm or something, right?
Or Mel Brooks comedies. He always, even though he was making offensive jokes, he always had a respect for a lot of the people. He always had respect for different groups of people.
Yeah.
Another good example of that.
Yeah. You know what? That brings up a sort of random question I could ask that I like to ask people in general. So like Mel Brooks is a great example of this.
Love him.
I love Mel Brooks too. But the kind of like, with the things becoming dated and offensive, if you will. Mel Brooks was what I like to call like an equal opportunity, like bigot, sort of, you know what I mean? Where he wasn't even off the table, you know what I mean? And South Park is kind of the same way. I'm not a big South Park fan personally, but I get why people like it, and it is sort of transgressive. But like, how do you feel about? There is a line, but like, that's my question. Like, where do you think the line is?
Good questions, because it's so hard, because what's offensive to one person is not going to be to another. I personally believe in, and knowledge, the Wizard of Oz, a lot of people have the nerve, but not a lot of people have the brain or the heart. And thing is, I will admit, I have my lines, and my lines of what I find offensive are completely different from what a lot of other people's are.
Yeah.
I can't really speak to what the line is objectively. I just know like for myself. I tend to like, and also truth is relative. What one person says, oh, that's so true. Another person says, oh, that's utter nonsense.
Yeah.
Really, I'm no authority on comedy by any means. I can really only say, I know myself. I know my limits. I definitely I like equal opportunity. And I like when and this is hard to put into words, but when it feels like it's coming from the right place.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is still subjective, as you said, truth is relative, but the mean-spiritedness is sort of where I draw the line. I like to make fun and like talk shit and stuff, like with my buddies about each other and stuff.
Absolutely.
But when the sincerity is mean, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's something you can't really put into words. It's something you can only really feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I don't mind South Park as much as other people. I definitely don't like seeing excessive violence, gore, and blood. I don't like gross out at all. But I can tell with South Park, a lot of the times it is coming from the right place. There's a knowledge, but there also is a passion. There's a heart. Mel Brooks, you can feel at Schitt's Creek, another good example.
Yeah. I just started Schitt's Creek, actually.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Very Canadian.
Because it gets better and better the more you watch it.
Yeah, I'll keep digging into it. Okay, what I had something I was gonna. Yeah, so let's talk about Angela Anaconda. So I watched a couple episodes this afternoon. I get why people hate it. I
Me
think
too.
it's kind of brilliant, honestly. It's so punk at its core. I
Yeah.
think you talked to I just wrote down her first name, Joanna. What was her
Joanna
last name?
Front, she's the creator.
Yeah. So you talked to her, and I watched the interview, and I found, yeah, she reminds me of like those New York punks, or what, maybe that's the wrong word, but those like the sort of 80s, late 70s, like New York, very like do it just because we can kind of thing, you know? And yeah, it reminded me of weirdly, she reminded me of this show called Fishing with John. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
I would check it out. I'm just gonna give you that recommendation. It's this guy who's a musician, John. I can't remember his last name. He's
Fishing with John.
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes.
All right.
Fishing with John, and it's like just this very bizarre. He just takes his like somewhat famous friends fishing, and he's not a fisherman. That's all it is.
So funny.
It weirdly reminded me of Angela Anaconda, and I don't know why.
Let's see that.
But how did you get a hold of her? Because
I
a good get.
Through social media. I found her social media and just wrote a message saying, hey, just explaining who I was and my love for this show. Saying I didn't even expect her to accept. I just wanted to I tried to talk to Sue Rose. I actually thought originally that Sue Rose was more the brain behind the show, because the artists who I talked to for quite a bit, the artists interacted with her more. Sue Rose also had another show, Pepper Ann, and on Fabulous.
Yeah,
Sue Rose definitely has quite a few television credits. I thought, oh, maybe this is more her show, but she occasionally responded to me online, but I never ever got a hold of her. I tried for a while. And then I thought, hey, well, who's this other person? Joanna Front. I tried looking her up. There was so little information about.
Yeah, there isn't very much about her at all.
I thought, well, you know what? And that's why I'm the person who says, oh, she's the creator of the show, she's top billing. That's not her ego. That's my ego.
Yeah.
That I reached out to her, just wanted her to know how much I love this show, how much it meant to me. She accepted the message. A month later, she got back to me, and then we'd been talking for a little while. And eventually, I was just really, really happy to talk to her. And I realized, okay, she's the one talking with me and interacting with me. This is probably a show she's closer to.
Yeah.
And eventually, I eventually saw that she eventually confirmed on one of her social media profiles that she's LGBT. And that's something I had a feeling about for a while, but never really knew either way. And, it's especially with LGBT people, you don't really want to assume, you don't want to out somebody, you don't know where people are. So I sent her so then I did a video on the queer themes in the show, and I sent her that and my interview with Nanette's voice actress, Ruby Smith-Mervitz, and said, hey, well, I've done some interviews in the past. I'd really like to talk to you. Thank you so much for letting me message you. Would you like to do this? And she amazingly said yes. So I may be reaching out to people, but they're the ones who say yes to me. It's truly wonderful. I'm so lucky. And then we spent the next few months planning for me to interview her.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so sick. Yeah. I found her very insightful, good talker too.
She's so cool. She's such an interesting person. It just it was such an honor to meet her, and it was because it can be really hard to find something you really, really connect to and really feel on a deeper level. And Angela Anaconda, especially, I'm someone who's also LGBT, I'm bisexual, and I don't relate to an overwhelming majority of queer media. It expresses itself in a way that I really don't. I'm not somebody, obviously, if you look at me, you wouldn't guess I'm LGBT. I don't like covering myself in rainbows. I don't want to shave my head.
Yeah.
I do feel a little bit of the pressure to, you have to be a certain stereotype in order to be seen. And Angela Anaconda is not about that. It related to me first because I dealt with bullying a lot, and I just loved that Angela was allowed to get angry. That was the one thing I was never allowed to express. Even when I was right, I just was not allowed to get angry. I loved her revenge fantasies. It was never preachy about it.
Yeah, I had that in my notes about the revenge fantasies. How
Yeah, that's
there's a
always what.
catharsis to the format of the show, right?
So the Angela Anaconda just on so many deep levels just gets me. Angela, I mean, I look like her. I looked exactly like that as a kid. I thought like her as a kid. And that was just now not only is this expressing itself in a queer way the way I do, you know, because gender was never really forced in my house the way it was for a lot of other people. If I wanted to play with dinosaurs, I played with dinosaurs. If I wanted to be a princess, I could be a princess.
Yeah.
So many people feel the need to force kids to be a certain way. My parents never really did that.
Yeah,
I could be, and I had both of those. And nothing was ever, it was never a big deal. And that's what I like about Angela, that, you know, she can be a tomboy, she can be a princess, she can be a spy in a suit, she can be a rocker. Dynamic. It's never harped on as, oh, this means something. I love that. Just how I really like the personality of this show so much. It's so different from so much of what you see out there.
I can't believe that it got made.
That's a crazy yearbook editor. Oh, I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay. I just said I can't believe Angela Anaconda got made and lasted as long as it did.
Oh, me too. And I'm so glad it did. Not to mention everybody I've talked to who's worked on. I've talked to quite a few artists. All of them have said this was one of the best shows I've worked on. We got along so well.
Yeah.
It's just so cool and it's kind of funny to me. I get why people hate it. There are flaws in the show, but it's something that looks completely different from anything out there. It's got such a different personality. It's so original. And yet that's what they haven't written yet. People are like, it's Uncanny Valley, cause my parents divorced,
I watched your video on that today.
Ugh.
You know, theories.
Yeah, conspiracy theories. I personally think that, and I loved that I like that it was photography. I always liked photography. I was an obsessive yearbook editor in high school. I had to just look through all these yearbooks. There were a lot of teachers who were once students at my high school, and they couldn't stand me. I wonder why. Because I'd find all their yearbooks and annoy them.
Cool. Yeah.
I loved it. And Angela Anaconda, I describe in my personal life as a talking yearbook.
Yeah.
I love the way it looks, but it's also something that can benefit from today's technology. You know, just give them skin tone, make them move a little smooth.
That's what you did with the theme song that you remade, if you will, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I thought I'd rather show rather than tell what an updated Angela would be like, how you update the story. If you look at and I get it, because in the original you don't really see Nanette do much to deserve the revenge fantasy. Here you see that, and you see what I wanted to do with the theme song was show you in 30 seconds what a new Angela Anaconda would be like. Story, appearance. It takes a lot from the original. It's true in spirit, but then it makes updates where they're needed.
I think it would be it looks cheap to produce, to be honest. I watched the behind the scenes thing.
It was not cheap.
It wasn't cheap, eh?
It was not, that 30 seconds was not cheap.
Oh, I mean, sorry. I mean the show altogether relative to other cartoon productions.
Honestly, because they do reuse a lot of designs, they do reuse a lot of settings. I actually couldn't tell you what the budget of that show was, but the artists were very creative. But I would say that because they use a lot of the same locations, they use a lot of the same designs. A crew became a lot of supporting characters and background characters. So probably.
Yeah, there's no like star power either to like take X amount of money like you see with inflated budgets and lots of feature films where you got to pay Brad Pitt way more than he should for showing up for 2 days or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest name for Angela Anaconda, that would have been Sue Rose.
Sue Rose, yeah, for sure. I do think if they were to put it on a Netflix like the original series, then I think it could pick up a lot of steam.
I think so too. Tell Miles Grey that.
Yeah, I'll send him an email. What's the name of the company? Sorry, what were you saying? What were you saying there?
Oh, I just said, it's, things, we did get rejected a couple times, but that's why I'm focusing on getting a little more attention, showing, hey, there is something great here. And I feel like, okay, you know what? If you can prove it, able to, they've got, I'm obviously not trying to bash them in any way. Wild Brain obviously works very, very hard, but I do believe there is something really good here. It's a good idea, and it's got a built-in fan base, and there's also enough, you can also generate enough controversy. That's what marketing likes.
Yeah.
Rage.
I think too, you seem to be on an upward trajectory with your YouTube following. So I think that could help, to be honest. Like having this kind of this strange, like you are the de facto Angela Anaconda YouTuber. There is no other Angela Anaconda YouTuber, right? And that in itself is like, for me, like it triggered an immediate memory, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, that show, right? Okay.
My evil plan is working.
Yeah, because
my way into people's lives.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's this like culturally, I think we, especially people, I assume you're about the same age as me. Like I'm 25.
I'm 27.
27. Okay, there you go.
Everyone asks me that now, you know.
Oh, is that not public information? Okay, sorry.
No, it is. I just think it's funny that people ask me.
Yeah, a lot of the comments I did see that in the comments. Yeah. But yeah, we're our generation is very much chasing nostalgia, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you were to have that little image macro on Netflix or something like this, where people will go, holy shit, and they will hit click, and they will. I think that the show never found its real following, which as I was saying before, I think that it could potentially appeal to like skateboarding, punk kind of culture, to be honest. And I can't put my finger on why. It's just got this quality to it that like feels like 90s MTV and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
90s.
Yeah.
That's what I call it.
Yeah, exactly. I have Wild Brains Google open. I'm gonna get their contact.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got you. What did they produce? What have they made? They're Canadian.
They're actually focusing on Peanuts right now. They have a deal with Apple, and they're focusing on more Peanuts content.
Huh.
So I think that's what's taking their focus right now. But I've actually been I haven't signed anything, so I don't think I'm going to get in too much trouble for saying this. But I have been lucky to talk to people, and there have been people into the idea. But so hopefully someday soon we still get to do it, because quite a few of the artists told me that they'd love to come back and do this again.
Yeah. What did you ask Joanna about that? What did she think?
At the end of the interview, I do ask about that, because it is her show. She created it, but it's also something I really would love to do.
Yeah.
But I gotta respect, I didn't create this show, so that'd be a fine line to walk. I asked what she would think about the idea of a reboot, and hey, that it's something I'd like to do, but I know it's her show. How would she feel? Her heart and soul really is Fido Dido. That's we're close to her.
Sort of little character that was used for advertising with Sprite and 7-Up and stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
She wants to do a TV show with him. She was really, really sweet. She did say, she did give me her blessing, saying, the exact quote, something like, hey, yours would be worthy hands to take over. If they ask me back, great. If they don't, so be it. It's at the end of the interview.
Okay, yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, actually, I don't think this is... I actually did show her the original theme song. She said it was very cute. She actually didn't like the change we made to Gina's hair.
Okay, so she gave you some constructive feedback.
Yep, just on that thing. Everything else,
that's
just
awesome.
Very, very cute.
Cool. Yeah. So you also cover a lot of other content, generally tunes and sort of, I would say, geek culture kind of. Would that be the right word? Geek culture? Is there a better word?
Movies. They're just really, really easy to talk about and make videos about, to show people still active and alive.
Yeah. So I was curious about your opinion. I wrote down a bunch of shows that I like and don't like. We're gonna rapid fire.
All right.
Some quick takes. So I'm wondering what your thoughts are in general of Scooby-Doo.
I like Scooby-Doo. I would say I like the environment. I like the designs. The color works really nice. It's something that's gone on for so long, so there's obviously better takes and better versions than others. But overall, there's a reason it's lasted for so long.
Have you seen the Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated show? Did you ever see any of that?
No, that's the one with the darker tone, right? That's the one where they
Yeah.
look a little boxy.
Yeah, it has an ongoing story, which is
Oh,
crazy.
dang.
Yeah.
You know, that's an interesting take for Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's good, but I burnt out on it. You know, like I was just like, I can't do a Scooby-Doo like anime, essentially. You know. Speaking of anime, okay, your take on Digimon, which is another Fox Kids show related to Angela Anaconda.
I didn't actually know about the Anaconda Digimon connection until the Nostalgia Critic video, which is actually my first exposure to the fact that people don't like this show.
Yeah.
Okay,
that was your first video about Angela Anaconda. Was your response to the Nostalgia Critic? Is that right?
No, actually,
no?
The first time I ever talked about it was something called that's when I was numbering my videos. Really, not my smartest plan because I had to keep track of it. I stopped. It was something called an obscure cartoon that I really like, and that's the first. I didn't know. I hadn't seen it in a while. I was going off memory and its reputation. I was so afraid to talk about it. I said something like, I don't think this would come back for kids nowadays.
Yeah.
Now kids can handle it. And I thought, but I was actually afraid of getting a huge backlash admitting I liked the show. So the first times I ever talk about Angela Anaconda, I'm very, very nervous.
Yeah. So yeah, Digimon though. Digimon. What do you think about Digimon?
Okay, my thoughts on Digimon.
I recently also watched the first 6 episodes of the original Digimon adventure, and it's definitely for kids. That was my take on it.
Funny thing, even though I was around Digimon, I don't have a ton of memory about it. I think if people like it, that's great. To be honest, I don't have my own opinions on it. I just think, that exists. That was pretty cool.
Okay. Sailor Moon.
Okay, I did actually just talk about this. I liked it as a kid. It was not on that much. I tried rewatching it, but I found it very irritating. Yeah. Maybe the sub's a little better, but
the sub is way better for sure.
I could not get into it again.
Yeah, it was huge in Canada. Apparently, it didn't blow up as big in the States. This is something I've read at least.
Really?
Huge here. Yeah, massive.
It's pretty huge here too. If you go to conventions, there's always people doing Sailor Moon. The thing is, I'd say for me now, I like the artwork more than I like the story and characters.
Yeah, the story is it's very classic Freak of the Week, going through the motions. I had a project a long time ago where me and a friend of mine were trying to review every episode of Sailor Moon.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. We try to go back. I think we got 70 episodes in.
Isn't it huge? I remember that's actually one of the reasons episodes. I never watched Naruto beyond a few episodes, because there's so many of them and it intimidated me.
Yeah, I actually watched the first 2 episodes of Naruto last night just for the nostalgia trip. I thought it would be something good for this. I was going to ask you what you thought of Naruto, but I guess we just did that. Did you ever see the show 16?
Actually, the last time I watched Naruto was in 2007 at a friend's house.
Yeah.
So I thought, this is really good, but there's too many episodes. I'm intimidated by this.
Okay, did you ever see the show 16? 16? You remember?
I did. I found I couldn't get into it because it's rare that I say this. I really don't get into that art style, and I find it very boring to look at. By the way, this is not a slam against anybody who likes it, anyone who worked on it. Please don't hate me, creators. Yeah. But
that's a Canadian show too. That one is full CanCon.
Nice. I like Total Drama Island though.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. I don't think I watched much of that.
I thought it was a really cool idea. I liked the characters. I liked the settings. I thought it was very, very creative.
Yeah, and that one's got an ongoing story properly, I think, too, right? Because it follows the sort of Survivor format, right?
Yeah, because reality shows, competition shows were such a big deal at the time. I thought, that's really cool that they're doing that with animation. They had such very distinctive characters. I liked the setting. I liked all the challenges they came up with. It very much was like watching a reality show, but I always liked animation. So
yeah,
within a style I like.
I got one that you might. Okay, Steven Universe. What's your thoughts on Steven Universe? I'm gonna hold my thoughts.
Okay, I respect the creative team. It's done a lot of good for so many people, and there were actually things I like the music. And there were parts of it I did really relate to, but as a whole, I'm not into it. I don't like the style. I don't like the storytelling. I don't like that it takes too long to get to the point. I'm not, I, it it can be a very triggering show. It's,
In what sense do you mean that, if you don't mind
what
me
I
asking?
mean is that it shows a lot of very horrible things happening, things that you don't usually see done. Again, kudos that they were able to tackle this again
Yeah.
in a kid's show, but something about the way it's presented,
Trauma?
it's a lot of trauma that hits a little too close to home, and it's very hard to watch.
Right.
But
that
it's
makes
also
sense.
so saccharine. It's a really weird, scary dichotomy for me, because
It is.
I do like stuff that's both whimsical and dark, but there was something about Steven Universe specifically. Again, the music is great. The team is obviously talented. It's clearly a creator's vision and personality coming through, and I respect it for that. It's definitely done so much for LGBT representation.
Big time.
It's not the way I look and think and present myself as a queer person, so I have a hard time. It's obviously who Rebecca Sugar is. It's not who I am. I do worry a little bit that becomes the standard of what a queer show is, and it's harder for people who look and think and act differently to tell their own experiences. I worry a little bit about that.
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier. The fear of sort of creating new labels, I suppose, almost.
Yeah,
right?
new boxes to put people in. Oh,
Yeah.
this is a show with gay characters, but it's not Steven Universe. So, and that's
Yeah.
not the creator's fault at all.
No,
It's
that's
style of
our
storytelling.
fault, if you will. At large.
Yeah, it's just it's clearly not their fault. They have done so much to push. They've done so much good for a lot of people. They've helped a lot of people. But for me, who really likes story, I like things to get moving.
It takes a long time to get going.
It takes too long for me. I had too many issues with different characters and their choices, and I was seeing things that were resolved years later that only got addressed, I thought, a little too late, such as the stuff with Rose Quartz, and
Yeah.
a lot of the characters have come back to her, and I find that which is frustrating. I like entertainment to be entertaining, and I thought,
Nice.
It's just so frustrating. These characters cause so many problems, and is never going to get comeuppance for it. I watched most of the show, by the way. So many people I knew were, but I followed it for a very long time.
I've seen all of it except Future. I didn't watch. I have been saving it.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Again, I love the color scheme. I like that. I mean, the designs are obviously very distinctive. It's a very, very original show. You can clearly see where it's inspired from. I've had family who are really into gemstones and rock collecting. I think that's a really cool element in it.
I've never even really thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah, so
the kind of
there's a lot of good in it. But it isn't for me. It's not for me.
Yeah, I hated it, and then I tried it a second time. As I said, I worked at this board game cafe. I made a joke at the expense because it has this toxic fandom people always talk about, right?
Yeah, I honestly, it doesn't surprise me.
And I'd watched the first couple episodes, and I thought it was just like the first episode is like it's like some kitty cat ice cream thing, and I was like, oh man, I'm too old for this. And then I tried it again, and I became very obsessed, honestly. And it reminded me of Dragon Ball, honestly. Like
yes,
Dragon Ball is equally as slow, at least the original version. So
probably why I never got into that one. It was for me Dragon Ball Z. It was another one that was just there.
Yeah, you can't avoid Dragon Ball. Everybody knows it. Yeah, I think some of those shows. Yeah. But some of these shows are they're like new fairy tales almost. You know what I mean? Like you don't even need to watch them. You just kind of know. It's
emotion based, and that's really cool. Yeah, with Steven Universe again, it's such a mixed bag. It's I think because there's a lot of trauma that's addressed in the show, and it's very, very realistic. I think it triggers that reaction in people. It can hit a little too close to home, or on the flip side, which can, for me, tends to turn me away. But for some people, when you don't have a lot of support in your life, and I understand this, I've been there myself. That's actually why I latched on to the few elements of the show I really, really got into. One thing I did really relate to was Pearl pining and pining over rose quartz, and how that relationship failed. I certainly been there, know that very well, and that's the thing I latched onto because I was going through just utter hell.
Yeah.
So I get where people are coming from, and when you're emotionally compromised, you do things you probably wouldn't do when you're in a better place in your life.
Because I guess Pearl was binded too, right? Because she couldn't really talk about it, like what you mentioned before, right? Because of her circumstance.
Absolutely. That came out later, but man, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I want to go back, way back to the beginning of what we were talking about. I was just curious, how do you like what draws you to making YouTube videos? Like, do you yeah, like how do you stay motivated, basically? Yeah.
Because I have a commitment to people, and I genuinely like Anaconda. There are plenty of days where I don't feel up to it, and the rewatch videos are very easy to make. I think what helps me stay motivated is the fact that, especially with the rewatch videos and stupid things videos, or just me talking about something, they're very, very easy to do.
Yeah.
Unlike right now, when it's just me in front of the camera, I actually trip over my words a lot. I stutter. I can't get my thoughts out. So I do a million takes. I guess staying motivated, I have a commitment to a fan base, especially for the Anaconda stuff. I want to stay active. I want to further my goals. Obviously, I want to run shows and create and write and collaborate with people.
Yeah.
I figured, it's better to stay active than not. There are plenty of days I'm not up to it. There's plenty of days I want to get lazy and be apathetic and not do it.
Yeah.
But, when you have a commitment to people, when you're on, now it's established I do at least one Anaconda episode every week. And it's also nice that I have a lot of control over my channel, over what I do. That does help.
Yeah, and you can do it
and it's
alone
out there, and it does help me with my craft.
Yeah, that's what I thought was, as I dug through your channel, I thought was kind of compelling, was I could tell that it was that you're doing it as a way to sort of keep yourself motivated and keep yourself out there, right?
Yeah, it's actually started as a way to promote Katarina the supervillain.
Yeah.
Because I was getting rejected everywhere, and actually the person who I hired to do the voice for Katarina said, "Hey, why not just do YouTube?" I thought, oh wow, that's really obvious. I cannot believe I didn't think of that.
Yeah. Is that project dead in the water, or are you gonna keep pecking away at it, do a graphic novel or something? I think you mentioned something like that. I did
try to do a graphic novel. It ended up being a little too much for the artists I was working with, and I'm obviously not good enough as an artist to do it myself yet.
Yeah.
I do still want to make it into a TV show someday. I'm still writing for it. I'm still outlining it. It's just harder and more expensive to continue to make stuff for Katarina than it is for Angela.
For sure. Yeah. When Angela Anaconda, you have like a groundwork there, right? Like that show follows a format. It reminds me again, like Angela Anaconda reminded me of like Sunday Funnies too, in some ways, because it hits these beats in a very satisfying way, like yeah.
And it's also very interesting because you've seen a lot of shows where a character deals with a bully, but not really as the main story. And for me, as someone who dealt with that a lot, that was interesting. Particularly, she'd have to deal with Nanette and my own. It's also interesting to see the kind of bully Nanette was. My own childhood bully was somebody who would provoke me into getting angry, and then when I did, would tell me I had anger management issues. Yeah. Because she's a horrible, horrible person. But I saw Nanette as someone who's just manipulative like that. I also thought there's this element, because the blonde mean girl is such a cliche, and this was before that became a cliche. I just found Nanette's design very, very funny. I thought, oh, the manipulative side's very funny. She's someone who's unpleasant, but in a very funny way, and that's the design, because that design is so funny and so ridiculous, over the top.
Yeah, exactly who she is when you look at her.
Oh yeah, it's true. That's what the character design of Angela is utterly brilliant.
Yeah, it is.
Even if they're in many ways they are tropey characters, I've seen shows with tropey characters, but the way they do it here, they're still distinctive, and you still know who everybody is by looking at them. You get a sense of every single character by their design. Angela, you can tell a lot of little girls look like that. Short brown hair and kind of skinny and kind of awkwardly cute, but I've never really seen that on TV before. It's like, oh, Anaconda, that's different. I've never seen a character that looks like that, but so many real life people do. And that's just such a funny cliche idea. Johnny Body, you know he's kind of a dorky.
Yeah, I love that name.
Dumb loving
name
kid.
is so good. I never forgot that name. The second I saw one of your videos and it said Angela Anaconda, the first thing that came to my mind was Johnny Body. That name, so good. It's such a good name.
Yeah, the names in that show are utterly brilliant too.
Yeah.
They never feel fake, but they still feel distinctive and quirky. It's like, okay, I don't think
they're catchy,
I could ever.
They're jazzy, you know.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever know a real life person named Nanette Memoir, but that still's like, that's a great name. That's a great character name. Angela Anaconda. It flows. There's a rhythm to it. And I did ask Joanna Ferrone about that. They just popped into her head.
Yeah, I remember that part of the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, she's got a talent for these very quirky names. Fido Dido's another one.
Yeah. It's they're like goofy song titles almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, something I describe Angela Anaconda as Peanuts meets South Park. There's definitely a laid back, kind of nostalgic, very small feel of Peanuts, but there is a South Park edge to it. One of my favorite lines in the whole show is Nanette, who's acting like a biker to try and get Miss Brinks to keep her job. Just says, so when I'm old enough, I'm going to run away from home, become a waitress at a truck stop. I also like Angela saying, wait a minute, I'm not old enough to be robbed.
Yeah.
All really funny, quirky lines. They're great. It's brilliant. I love that. There's some very good characters in the show.
It's so New York, and I never thought of that before until I watched that interview, and immediately it all kind of came together. I was like, yeah, it's got that, like, I don't know, there's certain music and stuff that I think of with it that I'll send some of what I'm thinking. I'll make a little playlist of my Angela Anaconda playlist. I'll send it to you.
Ooh, okay.
It's not going to be what you think it is, but it might make sense when you hear it. I have some ideas. Yeah, I'm gonna write that down so I remember Angela.
Really cool. I guess so. I guess that makes sense because Joanna Ferrone's from New York, and
she referenced to some stuff too that I'm really into, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Coming from.
I went to New York City so much growing up, so that I guess that New York style does have a kinship with me as well. Yeah.
So my last question here is what's next?
I mentioned a little earlier in this interview that I am going to be working on an animated video project with an original song, original music video that's coming out next year. That's my next thing I'm working on. I'm still working on Angela Anaconda, trying to reboot that. I still want that very, very much. But I also, for Halloween, I decided I was going to be Slutty Captain Kirk.
And I saw that on the Instagram.
Yep, I just did some very quick, funny videos that half the people thought were great, half the people were very confused and disturbed by. But isn't that
I saw one of the comments said you looked kind of like an Elvis impersonator also, which I thought was very funny.
That's I mean, hey, Kirk's transitioning into it. It's his toupee. It's like,
you got it right there, right?
Buddy Kirk's just transitioning into his 70s hair.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually have not watched very much Star Trek, but I've been meaning to. My father is a big Star Trek fan.
I actually, it's another side project. I'd like to do analysis videos. I love Star Trek. It's a good way to bond with people. It's very, very smart.
Yeah.
But it's not too cerebral for its own good. I've described Star Trek as it's both smart and stupid at the same time, and you can watch it for both reasons. You can watch it for the obvious special effects, or you can watch it for the very compelling stories and morality tales.
Yeah, I know it has like sort of has a Twilight Zone-y kind of thing where it's a lot of the stories from Star Trek have become, as we mentioned earlier, kind of fairy tale-ish, canonical, you know?
Oh, very much so.
Which is very cool. I've seen movies. There's a movie called Planet of the Vampires that is literally an episode of Star Trek. You should check that out. That'd be cool.
Sweet.
Yeah. Which was weirdly a big inspiration for the movie. The guy that made Drive. You ever see that movie Drive?
No.
No? Okay, that's a good one. Anyways, cool. So music video, more Angela Anaconda, considering some Star Trek.
Yes. I do those only whenever the inspiration hits, which is not that frequently, but they are fun.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah. Plug away.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Just come on, guys, let's reboot Anaconda.
Yeah. Well, throw us your social media and stuff.
Oh, my social media is all the same at AmazzonKane, AmazzonKane. Yep, 2 Z's. I did that because I figured, I didn't want to have to compete with a retail giant. So I figured names are probably going to be copyrighted in the near future. So why not add the extra Z? It's another one like how Joanna Ferrone came up with Anaconda. The name AmazzonKane just popped into my head one day.
Yeah, I was curious about that. It feels very usernamey though. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a name. That makes sense. Like the same with Anaconda. Just like, yeah, that's what this is.
That's a name. It's distinctive spelling. You look it up, you find me. I'm pretty consistent with my handles. I've got an Instagram, YouTube, Twitter,
Patreon.
I do have a Patreon and a Ko-fi. So
Ko-fi. Yeah.
And I'm happy. If they don't, they just want to watch my stuff, that's cool too.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the show. I'm going to stop recording. We can chat for a minute after that.
Sure.